thanks very much. Kia ora tātou. It's great to be here. If anyone's under any illusion about whether this is a good site to build a wind farm, I strongly suggest they walk outside. I don't even think Mary Poppins would be brave enough to go out there in these conditions. So Meridian, well done on selecting such an amazing site to build such a massive and fantastic wind farm. Can I acknowledge Tim Lusk, the CEO of Meridian, and also Wayne Boyd, the chairman. But I'd also like to acknowledge Keith Turner, who for 9 years led Meridian and was at the forefront of pushing wind for Meridian and ensuring that we built the renewable energy source that's so readily available for us here in New Zealand. Can I acknowledge my parliamentary colleagues? Charles Chevelle's here, and I don't know if there are any others that are here. It's good to see you up here, Charles. And all the other dignitaries that are in the room. So Meridian has built the biggest wind farm, chosen to build it on this site. Not surprising that's built in Wellington, when the home of your rugby team is called the Hurricanes. It's always got to be a good sort of place to start with for a wind farm. And this is a magnificent site. 62 turbines up here, 143 megawatts of power. 70,000 homes will get their energy from this wind farm. It'll be bid in basically the whole time because it's such a great source of power. So it's good to be here. When we were driving up on in the car on the way up, Royden said to me that Siemens had made sort of 4 observations to them about this site. So the first of them was it's the most windy they've been to. It was a good place to start for a wind farm. Second was it is the most difficult terrain to build a wind farm on, and that is not surprising. Third thing is that Meridian were the best prepared of the companies they were dealing with, and this was the most picturesque and beautiful site to build a wind farm on, one that they'd built one on. I think that's absolutely right. Coming up here, what sort of strikes me about the place actually is just the sheer size of these turbines. They're absolutely massive. Someone in the car said the blades are a bit like the wings on a 747. I think that's absolutely right. They're absolutely huge. It's a massive site. I'm very excited about the opportunities for wind in the years ahead. In 2007, I went down to Antarctica, and someone came with us from Meridian actually on that trip. And you sort of start thinking outside the box a little bit about the future for wind. When you think about a place like Antarctica, where at the moment it's largely fueled from diesel, that all has to be shipped down to Antarctica. It presents a real environmental risk. If you know anything about Antarctica, it's also a very windy place. So the logics behind that are fantastic. And equally in New Zealand, I think you don't have to look too far into the future to know that electric cars are going to be a big part of the future sort of mode of transport for a lot of people. Nick Smith is already driving himself around these days in his bright green electric car. It makes no sense to power those cars off thermal power, but it certainly makes a huge amount of sense to be powering them off renewables. So I think you can see that there's a lot of opportunity. The second thing I'd sort of say is that if you think about New Zealand, the branding opportunities for New Zealand are great. I think we're doing a fantastic job of that. We started that a decade ago with 100% pure. And feeding off that was a view that New Zealand is a clean and green environment. If we want to keep reinforcing that image, then one of the important ways to do that is produce more of our power from renewable energy. We already produce an enormous amount from hydro. Wind presents now fantastic opportunities, and I think in the years to come, wave will present the same. So it really is a good thing for New Zealand and for the future. The government, as you're aware, is going through the RMA process and the reform at the moment. Interestingly enough, we're not changing the test for the environment. What we are doing is changing the process. I think it's really important that those who want to object and want their voice to be heard have the ability to do so. This project had that. It had a lot of people submitting both ways, but some certainly very concerned about it. In the end, the project saw the vast bulk. I think only 6 of the turbines were actually rejected and 2 other ones were approved, so the vast bulk of them were ultimately approved. But you've got to have a process where the people have the ability to actually reflect on it and the appropriateness of it. From my point of view, I get to see this wind farm most regularly when I fly down from Wellington. from Auckland, should I say, but to Wellington, but to get a sense of how high up we are and the scale of these things when you look out. And for the bulk of the turbines that I saw on the way in, they were actually in the clouds. Now, the clouds were moving sideways pretty rapidly, but nevertheless, they were in the clouds. So it's a great project. It's a good day for Wellington. It's a fantastic day for Meridian. It's a pleasure to be part of it. It's something that I think will be here for a very, very long time. I suspect if Meridian would allow it to be, it would be a great tourist attraction, but I can understand the reasons why that may not be the case in the short term. But I'm sure there'll be endless demand for people to come up and see the turbines in the years ahead. So it's my great pleasure to move, I think, to the switch, which I've got to say is the largest switch I think I've ever seen. And let me just sort of finish with this one last thing, and that is that if you've ever been to the 9th floor of the Beehive, it's a fantastic place to have a wind farm. The wind whistles around that place like you've never seen in your life. And I thought the reason that most sort of prime ministers left the office sort of half mad was because of the pressure of the job. It was only when I read a John Armstrong column once that he said the howling of the wind up there is unique, and it only happens on the 9th floor. So if you ever want to consider a new place for a wind farm, Tim, I strongly suggest you think about the 9th floor of the Beehive, because it's also got to be a great place to do it. Thanks very much.